Here we are, we're in Hudson, New York, and I moved to Hudson in March of 2023. And I'm going to take you on a little tour of my house, and because all the things around me really reflect my interest in Greek art, Greek history, and so forth. One of the things that I'm very interested in is neoclassical, and some of the furniture and the art that I've collected are from the late 18th and early 19th centuries. In the United States, that would be the Federal period. In France, it would be Directoire and Empire, and in England, it would be Regency. So this mirror is American, it's federal, it has all of the wonderful features of neoclassical design, including the rosettes in the four corners. And this is from about 1810. And I bought this at Sotheby's for our house in East Hampton. And this console table is French. It's Directoire, so that's about 1790. And again, it's painted, it has wonderful legs, these classical legs, and all of this wonderful work, and a marble top. And then these four prints are French, and I bought them in the flea market in Paris, and that was for the East Hampton house. And the lower ones, the two on the bottom, are pre-revolutionary France, because everybody's wearing powdered wigs and so forth. And then the two on top are after the revolution, and the women are wearing these wonderful empire sort of flowing dresses. I collect boxes, and this is many boxes, we'll see. This is Victorian, and it is papier-mâché with mother of pearl. So this is from about, I'd say, 1860, 1870. At the entrance, I have two obies hanging. They're Japanese, and they are the sashes that go around the kimono. Over here, this is a piece of Victorian Edwardian bamboo furniture, which I have a number of these pieces. I like them a lot. And this now is a bar. Above the bar are the Nine Muses, and I bought those in Rome at a shop on Via Condotti, and they're quite interesting. I'm called Urania in Greek, and so she's right in the middle. So here are the Nine Muses and a Victorian bamboo table. And these are all English decanters. On this table, these are a photograph of my mother with her two brothers and her sister. My mother's about 6, and they're all younger than her. And here they are about 10 years later with their father. Again, I love neoclassical, so this lamp is in the shape of a Greek vase, and it's really heavy, and it's green marble, and I bought it at the Rhinebeck Antique Fair last spring. Over here are two wonderful prints by a Cypriot artist called Lazarus Menelao. And he had an exhibition at a gallery in CD called Epistrophe, and I bought one piece that's in the entrance, and then when I met him, I bought these two, and then he did write something very nice to me on both of them. And I really loved them because he was inspired, obviously, by ancient Greek statues, and I thought this was great. This is a view of Rome, 1805, by a gentleman called Rossini. And again, this is sort of, ruins and Italian ladies washing their clothes in the middle of a grotto. So that's kind of interesting. When I moved to Hudson, I had to figure out what to put on the windows. And I didn't want to cover up this nice wood So I had these Roman shades made by a local guy who does curtains and upholstery. And the fabric is actually Indian. It comes from a shop in Hudson called Les Indianes. And they're all hand printed Indian cotton. And somehow it all works together. As you'll see as we go into the rest of it, I have this thing about Indian cotton. In fact, and actually the dress I'm wearing is by a Greek designer, but she has the fabric made in India, and her company is called Kalesh. And so I've ended up buying this dress in like 3 different colors, and every time I wear it, I get compliments wherever I go. So I love this dress and all the others. So yeah, I have this thing about Indian cotton. This was the first of Lazarus Menelaos's pieces that I bought, and I think she's wonderful. I love the fact that she's a statue, but she has her finger to her mouth as though she's sort of contemplating something. And then the deer, he's from Bali, and his antlers are real. I bought him in the mid-70s. There was an antique dealer who was also a musician who toured the State Department after World War II, was sending American musicians out around the world, sort of goodwill tours. And so he was touring in Africa and Asia. So I bought that from him in the mid-70s, and later a couple other things that we'll see in the dining room. So very exotic stuff. So we have French, we have Bali, we have Greece, and over here on the coffee table, the coffee table was made in Greece by a really wonderful furniture designer called Spiros Chikouris. Sadly, he's no longer with us, but I love it because it's big, it has 2 levels, and it does have classical lines. And again, we have boxes on the table, of course. This box is covered with shells, and it has an amethyst at the top on the handle, and that was given to me by Bob Crewe. So Bob Crewe, if you saw Jersey Boys, the movie, or went to the musical, Bob Crewe was the producer of the Four Seasons and wrote lots and lots of their hit songs. So that was a gift from Bob. And then these 2 marvelous things, I think they're Indian, I'm not sure, but they were given to me by Vangeli Papathanassiou, who is a great friend, and I organized 2 galas for him in Athens over the years. So these are from Vangeli to add to my box collection. And I have some wonderful books here, the Bulgari book from their exhibition in Rome, and as you know, they are of Greek origin. Another wonderful book from the early 1970s on the museums of Greece. And another book from the Metropolitan Museum called Goddess, which is about the influence of ancient Greek dress on fashion through the ages. So again, these sort of they're all about what I'm interested in, frankly. Art, jewelry, clothing, fashion, and they all kind of come together. Here we are. So these are another bamboo table, Victorian. So these are more of my box collection. So these are Chinese and Japanese. They're papier-mâché, they're painted, they're wonderful. This was probably a tea caddy, this one, because there's a place for a key where you would lock up your tea, because tea was very expensive then. And these were probably for matches, because there's a striking thing there. This lamp, again, a Greek vase style. This is wooden. I bought this in Koloniki, There's a great shop there that has wonderful lamps. And I also got the two obelisks, which are marble, at a great shop in Koloniki. So again, we kind of mixed the neoclassical. And then here, I've got some great books: Edward Lear, Crete, Corfu, Greek vases, some wonderful, wonderful books. Joseph Conrad, Jane Austen, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. So these are all really some wonderful additions that I've got. This chair and ottoman is where I really enjoy reading. And I picked up this funny little table at an antique fair in Massachusetts. And again, it's black with gold, with a Greek vase full of fruit flowing over it. So very much in keeping with what, what I like. This piece here is actually, it's Biedermeier. And I bought it at what could only be called a junk shop in Athens, off of Kifisias. I liked it. I knew I liked it. And then when I got an appraisal of all my things when I moved to Chicago, it was appraised as a true Biedermeier. So I was very excited about that. Again, another ice bucket vase that I put on top. So in that cabinet, there's a set of Shakespeare that I bought in one of the estate sales. And there are the little Demitasse cups that my mom was given on her 16th birthday. Here's a great French 19th century chair that I bought in Laguna Beach in California. And hanging above it is a painting by Michael Frank, who is a German painter. And when I was on the board of the Zappion, we had a huge exhibition of his paintings. That was in 2007. And when I say huge, I mean they were gigantic. And they were, the theme of the exhibition was Hesiod. And so you had giant paintings representing Chaos and Rhea and Kronos and Titans and all sorts of things. So this is a little painting by Michael. Here I have a print of Piranesi, of a wonderful vase with dolphins sort of all over it. This is another one of my bamboo pieces that I actually bought in Hudson. And this collection of boxes, they are Indian, and these are porcupine quills. And probably, I'd say, 1870s, 1880s, something like that. And this photograph is of my grandmother, her sister, my grandfather, and my mother as an infant in Chicago. So there we are. Up here, I have a little watercolor by, again, Michael Frank, and this is of the Temple of Poseidon at Sunion. And it's very sweet, and again, I just, he was very much enamored of ancient Greece, therefore his paintings. And this is kind of interesting, because this is a cachepot that I bought in 1973 in Brittany, in France. It's faience, and more boxes, more Chinese and Japanese boxes on a bamboo corner etagere. Here with the guest room, on the bed and here on the table, these are quilts that I bought in Muscle Shoals in Alabama in 1973 when Jerry was recording. And so I just love them that they're here and everything. And here's the needlepoint pillow that my mom did to go with the chair. And then I bought these pieces, there's 3 of them, for the East Hampton house, these needlepoint pictures. It just all kind of came together, which is very interesting. And these 2 little watercolors, 19th century, I bought in Hudson recently, an antique store. And what I'm very excited about is over there, between the two windows, I bought this great watercolor at the thrift shop in Hudson. And it benefits the hospital. So I love to find things that are great in, you know, not junk shops exactly, but certainly not even antique shops. Anyway, I'm very happy about that, and it all works. And the curtains and the pillow shams are French toile design, classic, and they came from the Vermont Country Store. So here's the guest room. So anybody that comes to stay with me, this is where they would stay. We're in my guest room, and so this chair was part of the estate we bought with the East Hampton house, and so my mom did the needlepoint on the chair. So it's Victorian. It's actually called a nursing chair. I've just learned that because it doesn't have arms and it's low. So anyway, my mom did the needlepoint on that, and she also did a pillow that's on the bed. This is my little dining room, and again, I have Indian fabric curtains, but this is from another company called Sunshine Marigold. So these curtains are ready-made, but I love them. I think they really work really well here. On my table, these are the dishes that I bought for the East Hampton house. They're French. The glasses come from France, from Biot. They're hand-blown, and I feel, well, it's very much Provence. And so these pieces here, these are faience, which I bought in 1973 in Brittany. Again, these pieces, and these are all my cookbooks, lots of cookbooks. So everything is on display here. And I also have a collection of plates that are on the wall. These plates over here, the bottom one is from Turkey. The two above are from Portugal. And the one at the top, the pheasant, is my grandmother's, was my grandmother's. In her dining room in Chicago, there was a ledge that went around the whole room, and so there must have been 20 similar plates of that type. So anyway, that's one of them. Here is a French Provençal buffet. I'd say it's probably mid-19th century. I bought it in LA, but it has a great, beautiful marble top, fabulous storage. And here are 3 boxes, Cambodian boxes, that I bought from that musician antique dealer that I bought the deer from. And in Cambodia, they would put flowers and fruit in, these are boxes, the lids come off, and they would take them to the temple. So these are pre-Khmer Rouge pieces. These 6 prints I bought in Rome at the shop on Via Condotti, and these are all from a book on Herculaneum. So this one and this one are about theater, so it has the masks also. These are all about furniture and lamps and so forth. So these came out of a beautiful book on Herculaneum. And then my candelabra are English, 1810, 1815, and the silversmith is Matthew Bolton. So neoclassical again. Now across the way here, I've got more plates from Turkey.
Okay, go ahead.
Now those plates were brought to me by a wonderful friend called John Logan, who is no longer with us. But anyway, lovely plates from Iznik. The horse is Indian, Northern Indian, probably cashmere, although I did buy it in LA. But he's quite nice, and I like the fact that his tail is up. And this here is an Italian Majolica apothecary urn. So that would have been in a wonderful classical apothecary shop. This candlestick, I'm pretty sure I bought it in Chicago. It's wrought iron. It weighs a ton. You can barely lift it. And as we go downstairs to my office and my bedroom, I have this really cool print that I bought at this great shop in Athens. And so it's Vamvakaris and Tsitsanis, and it's got it's about their songs. So very cool, with a laterna. So going down the stairs, I have more books. So on the top shelf, there are my design books, and on the left, they're my decorating books. So the photographs on the top shelf, the first one is me with Vangelis Papathanassiou when I did the gala for him at the Zappeion. That's when he composed an album to benefit the National Gallery when they wanted to buy an El Greco. So that's that photograph. The one next to it, I'm with Don Henley, the drummer of the Eagles, who's a great friend of mine, because of course I worked with them when they were starting out, and that was in London. In the middle, that's a picture of my sister and me with Elton John, and Elton was having a birthday party for Connie, for my sister. The next photo is my brother-in-law, Chris Hillman, Elton, and Billy Joel. The next picture is in Las Vegas at the opening of Jersey Boys at the Venetian, I think it was. So it's Tommy, and I can't remember his name, but he was the guy in the Four Seasons that owed all the money to the mob. This is Dan Crew, me, Bob Crew. Dan Crew was Bob's brother, and Frankie Valli. And that little picture there of all the people is me at the first gala that I decorated in Athens for UNICEF at the Gran Bretagna. So there, the lady in the green and pink is the French ambassador's wife. Then there's George Davlos, who was doing the publicity, me, and Mimi Denisi, who's a great friend. And on the bottom, the second shelf, those are my I have ancient Greek art, ancient Greek, Roman, Egyptian art, and over here, Greek contemporary art. So the first photograph is a photograph of me that was taken by my friend Trudy Schlachter. The second is a picture of me at a party with Ilya Kazan, and we were very good friends, and I did the proxenue with his third wife, my friend Frances, so she was his third wife. Then there's a photograph of me with Shelley Duvall, who was a very, very, very dear friend who died 3 weeks ago. And we're in Lucca in Italy. She was shooting Portrait of a Lady, and I went to stay for about a week with her. There's another photograph of Elton with my sister on his left, and then Sarah McMullen, who was his publicist. And then there's me and Vangelis again. And that was a gala that I did for him at the Gran Bretagna when he got the gold albums for the music for the soundtrack of the Christopher Columbus movie that he did. And then that's a photograph of my sister that was taken by Harry Langdon, who's a very famous Hollywood portrait artist. And I guess we can go downstairs now, right? Okay, cool.
Okay.
So this is a photograph of my mom's side of the family in Chicago. My sister and I are at the bottom, sitting on the floor. There's my mom's uncles, her aunts. My father is, I think he's there. and my mom's cousins and their wives and so forth. So this is a nice, this was their house. This is the house of the Peckress family. And so my grandmother was a Peckress. And so these are her brother, well, we'll tell the story of my grandmother. The next one is a photograph of my debutante ball at St. Sophia Cathedral in LA. And I am here, that's me, and there's my date, Dennis. And next to me is George Shakiris, and that's his sister Athena. So he was her escort. So that was my Deb ball in LA at St. Sophia Cathedral. This one here is me with my sister Connie when she graduated from kindergarten. And then this one is Connie and me at the White House. That was when Jimmy Carter was president, and he was very close to the people in the record business, and he had a barbecue out on the lawn. I must say, it was hot and humid, but there we are on the lawn at the White House. All of these photos in the next group are Jerry's surprise birthday party that I gave for him. And so in the top photo, it's Jerry, it's me, Jerry, John Landau. John Landau is Bruce Springsteen's manager, and the actor Peter Boyle and his wife Lorraine. And the one in the middle is sort of everybody around the cake. And that was at the Carlisle Hotel. Lots of people. So this was at Jerry's birthday party that I gave him. And so it's me, Jerry, John Landau, who's Bruce Springsteen's manager, and the late Peter Boyle, wonderful actor, and his wife, Lorraine. Yeah, so Elton and my sister Connie. I think it's at Wembley. I'm not sure.
How about this one?
And this one, again, at Jerry's birthday party. So here's a sort of the group at the end of the party. So everybody is a little...
Which Jerry's here?
My first husband, Jerry Wexler. So this is a friend, Steve Paley, my friend Pam Janitis, her boyfriend Roger, my friend Sarah Gallagher, Connie, Jerry's son Paul, and me. So I'm at Studio 54, and that's with Sean Connery and his wife, Micheline. So that was kind of cool. So this is a really great poster that I bought at the Olive Museum in Sparta, and it's all the different kinds of olives. But I went on their website, and for some reason, I don't know, they don't have it anymore, or I would have bought like a ton of them. But anyway, I'm glad I have one. Okay, now we'll go into my office. This is the wedding wall, okay? So this is my grandparents' wedding picture. This is my mother, my father, and my grandfather on their wedding. This is the whole cast at my mother and father's wedding. As you see, they had a few people. Unfortunately, the only people that are still with us are these two little kids and this little guy. Then here, this is my sister and Chris, my brother-in-law, my sister and Chris at their wedding in California. This is my niece, Catherine, and her husband, Nick. My nephew, Nick Hillman, and Annie, his wife. And then these two are me as flower girls. So this, I'm a flower girl at my mom's cousin Betty Gavastis' wedding. I think I was like 2 at that one. And then I don't know whose wedding that is. And then this is me at my wedding with Jerry. And these photographs were taken by Bruce Lawrence, who is a very well-known fashion photographer. So he did like a whole book. And so here are more of the wedding pictures on the windowsill. And so, again, Jerry and me. In this one, I'm standing in front of a very nice Magritte that we had. This is a wonderful bird with roses coming out of its tail. This is a nice little piece that my friend Vasiliki, Greek artist, gave to me. She's very nice. Anyway, and then over here we've just got pictures of the family. Now over here I have something that's rather interesting. It's my father's passport, and so that's on the top. So what's interesting about it is it's in Greek and French, 1929. And when Nico and I talk, I'll tell him the story of how my father came to the United States. And this is a little certificate that you get from Ellis Island that says that they're on the Immigrant Hall of Fame. So I, did the research, and that's a really cool thing to do because you can find out what boat they came on, exactly the date, and so forth. And that's just my diploma from Marymount when I got my bachelor's degree. This photograph of Jerry and I was taken by Carol Friedman, who's a very well-known photographer. She has a fabulous book. She mainly works with jazz musicians. So she took this photograph, and she took this one here with me in our apartment in New York. And as you can see, there's my little Balinese deer sitting on a table, and the Bob Crew shell-covered box. This photograph and the one on the other side were taken by Harry Langdon. He did a photo session with me in LA, and I have other photographs as well. And I guess here's another one of my bamboo tables. And on the lower shelf, I have a collection of porcelain boxes. So as you can see, I do have this mania about boxes. This photograph is I think it's a lovely one of my grandmother and her sister. My grandmother was pregnant at the time, I was told. This is my mom in her Amalia outfit. And then the other photograph is my mom and her sister on a pony. Very typical 1920s photograph of, I think they brought a pony around and, stuck kids on it and took their pictures wherever. And then this is, I think, the last photograph of my mom with her siblings. And that was at a cousin's wedding. So here we go into more pictures in my office. This is sort of a Greek section. In 2005, a lot of my family on my mother's side came to Greece. My uncles, my aunt, lots of cousins. And so I chartered a bus and we went to Vervina, which is high in the mountains over Tripoli. And actually Alpha TV came and did a piece on us, and I have the video from that. And then the night before we went, no, the night after, I had a party in Athens at this fabulous place in Plaka that had a roof garden. And so these are all the female relatives, my sister, my niece, cousins, my aunt. And here's a close-up of, there we are with the TV guy and so forth in Vervina. And okay, and over here, more Harry Langdon photograph. And this one, it's interesting, this little one here was taken by Henry Diltz, who's a very famous rock and roll photographer. And he took the photographs at Chris and Connie's wedding. So that's Connie, our friend Pam, and me looking out the window. I just think it's a cool photograph. And then these two, and another one up here, These were taken by a photographer called Bill Brock, who lived in San Francisco. And he took photographs of Big Brother and the Holding Company and the Grateful Dead. And he had a little crush on my sister, and he came to LA. And so he took us out and took pictures of us one day with our dog, Kabul. Not very original name for an Afghan, but anyway, that was Kabul. And he took these really cool photographs of us. And so this is where I work. Here's my desk. And on this shelf, these are all photography books, mainly on rock and roll. So this is an exhibition called Who Shot Rock and Roll that was at the Brooklyn Museum. It was curated by my friend Gail Buckland. Nancy Andrews, who we saw in the photo with Ringo, this is her book called A Dose of Rock and Roll. This is a great book that was just put out about a year ago on the Byrds, the early years, a variety of photographers. So these are all sort of music, photography books, lots more art books. And then over here, another Harry Langdon of me. And then this is my grandmother with her brother Yanni when they first arrived in Chicago. And this one over here, the color photo, was taken by my friend Trudy Schlachter, who's also a great, she took all the photographs that are in my archive of the house in East Hampton and the apartment in New York. And she also did portraits. So anyway, that's one she did of me. And this is a Henry Diltz photograph that was taken at my office at Geffen Roberts Management. And we managed the Eagles and Jackson Browne and Linda Ronstadt. And I'm there with my friend Leslie, who also worked there. And I have 2 Rolodexes on my desk there. These are some, a lot of these photographs are in Greece. I started doing work with the foreign press. And so I took people on, I suppose we'd call them press junkets. And this is, I think, for the opening of the new municipal museum in Rhodes, and they arranged for us on the last day to take a boat around the island and then have a great lunch in Lindos. And so these are the journalists from Reuters and AP and Agence France Presse and the Italian news agencies and so forth. And here we are getting on the boat. And then I think this was 2001, NBC would do something called Where in the World is Matt Lauer, and they decided to do Mykonos. So I was contacted and I put together the interviews and whoever he would have. And there's Katerina Lalaunis, and there we all are in Mykonos. And this is a birthday party of mine in Athens, and Andreas Tilifonis is the owner of Central Athens, which makes commercials not only for Greek clients but international clients. Stamatis Spanoudakis, another good friend, and Ian Stamboulis, who sadly passed away, and he was the head of Warner WEA Greece. This is early 2004. It was a party for Athens Insider, which is a magazine in English, a monthly magazine. And I did a lot of writing for them. I did a lot of stories anyway at a club. Now this is something I have to tell you, I'm really, really proud of. And that photo, 2004 Olympics. This was at the Glyfada Golf Club. People in the photograph are me. I was doing the publicity for the club. Petros Doukas, who still is the president of the Hellenic Golf Federation. And the U.S. ambassador and his wife. And in the middle, these 2 lovely people were at that time the oldest living Greek Olympians. The lady is Mrs. Linardatu. She was the first female, Greek female, track athlete. She was in Berlin, 1936, and she was then in London, was it 1948? And Pete Klenzos, who was Greek American but was on the Greek team in LA in 1932. And I want to tell you the whole story of this because this is really important about them and, frankly, how the 2004 committee did nothing for either one of them. And I have to tell this story because they're important. They really are. This is a very cool picture on the roof of my apartment in Athens on Adrianou Street. This is my friend Nadia Tass, who's a Greek-Australian film and theater director. She's directed some award-winning films, and her husband, David Parker. October of 2022, I was in Nashville because the Country Music Hall of Fame Museum had an exhibition, it's still on until next spring, called Western Edge. And it was all about all the rock and roll groups who were really country, influenced by country music. So of course you had the Byrds, my brother-in-law Chris, and the Flying Burrito Brothers. He was one of the founding members of that. Manassas with Stephen Stills. And you had Linda Ronstadt and the Eagles and Poco and so forth. So anyway, I was in Nashville. And of course I went to the Parthenon, which is so cool because it's a reproduction of the Parthenon with the statue of Athena. And it was originally built for the 1896 centennial of Nashville. So they built the Parthenon and a number of other buildings that were really supposed to be temporary. The Parthenon is the only one that exists. And then in the 90s, I think they commissioned someone to do the statue. So they've done a lot of, they do concerts there, they do a lot of events, and they've done a lot of films. I don't know if you saw any of the the first Percy Jackson films. There's a lot of stuff shooting in there. And also, I had just watched a series that I helped the producers in Greece called Lost Civilizations. And one of the people talking is there at the Parthenon talking about ancient Greece and so forth. So here's my mom winning the blue ribbon for her baklava in, I think, 1983 at the Ventura County Fair. And what's really kind of cool is that last week my sister won first prize for her melamakarina at the same county fair. So yeah, we like to cook and bake. And this is a photograph at the Ivy in LA with one of my really dearest friends, Dee Dee Bridgewater. And you know, she performed in Athens many times at the Megaro and she's great, lovely person, and we're great friends. And this is a very funny little picture of my niece and nephew's kids. This is Teddy and Lily, and they're my niece's children. And this is Hattie, my nephew's little girl. And so over here, these are all my music books. These are everybody's biography. Everybody from Linda Ronstadt to Clive Davis to whoever. Anyway, Ginger Baker. So anyway, lots and lots of music books. And more family photos here. This is kind of cool. This is my dad's family in Chicago, I think in the 1920s. Yeah, it must have been. So that's my father. This is his brother Sotiris, and his wife Fotini. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 children. I think that's Urania. I don't know which ones the little boys are. This is his other brother, Christos, and his wife. And this is Uncle George, who was the oldest brother. But when I tell you this story about how my father immigrated, it's a very cool story. And these are the cast of characters. This is another of the Indian porcupine quill boxes. So very interesting kind of thing. And this one, I'm not sure what this box was for, but it has these little compartments. And these, I think that was, somebody brought that to me from maybe somewhere in the Middle East. And these frames I bought in Egypt. And this photograph was taken in Morocco, in Fez, at the Palais Jamet Hotel. And this is me at the Vangeli Gala at the Grand Bretagne, at the Zapion. The ancient Greek thing sort of follows me everywhere. So here in my bathroom, I have Leda and the Swan. And below, it's a copy, of course, of Boucher. Of course, his title is Venus and Cupid. Of course, we would call it Aphrodite and Eros. So this is a nice English Hepplewhite dresser, probably the end of the 18th century, early 19th century. And then I've got another Victorian papier-mâché box. But what's really cool about this is actually a traveling desk. In other words, I guess you'd put it in your trunk and take it with you, and you'd have ink here, inkwells, glass inkwells, and so forth, and then you'd have different things, and this was your writing desk. So anyway, very cool thing. This is a Greek mirror, probably 19th century, I guess. That's another Harry Langdon of me. And this is a great picture of Trudy, that Trudy Schlachter took of my sister and my niece and Nikki when they were little. And what's here is kind of interesting. This is a picture of me in my christening dress, which you will have in your archive. This little dress, yeah, very cool. And oh, here's a picture of my mom, and sort of a little. So here we go. These are photographs of my dad, and this is actually the last photograph that we had before he died. He died when I was 8, and Connie was like 6½. And right now I'm reading something really interesting. It just came out. It's called The Missing Thread. And this is about the women of the ancient world that have been left out of history. This is a really amazing book, and I think it was released on July 29th, so I'm reading that. These are prints that I bought with the infamous Seymour Stein at the flea market in Paris. They weren't framed. I framed them when I got back. This one I also bought with him. This is the Loves of the Shepherd, Les Amours de Beaucoups. Anyway, so that's, again, French. That's definitely end of the 18th century. This bed is French, but I bought it in Athens from that same antique dealer that I got the slipper chairs from. So again, you know, this traveled to different places here and there. And yeah, and it's really great. It's carved and so forth. Now over here, we'll just take a quick look here. And so This is a fabulous dressing table that I got when my girlfriend Priscilla sold her house in Southampton. She had designed this. It's really great. It has filing drawers and so forth. Anyway, and more of these prints that I bought with Seymour. This is a Greek mirror. This I bought, it wasn't even a shop. These people had an apotheke near, there was a really cool taverna called Xenos. Remember Xenos? It was like the oldest taverna. It was in like all the Greek movies from the 50s. So this house was like next to it. And it was an apotheke. It wasn't really a shop. Anyway, I bought that from them. And that's a really lovely mirror. And this I bought in Athens. I think could be Venetian, I'm not sure. I bought it at a shop in Koloniki. And here's another one of these papier-mâché. Again, can't get away from them. And all these are, I once bought a box at what was called PB84. In other words, when Sotheby's was on Madison Avenue, they had like an adjunct called PB84 where they sold things that were not, great works of art and stuff. And I bought, when we got the East Hampton house, so I bought all these, like a box of them. And if we want to look over here, here's another Muscle Shoals quilt. And what's interesting is that the curtains came from my apartment in Athens. But my ceilings in Athens were really, really high. So, and they had, have the pictures in the that you'll have in the archive of them. So they were really tall French doors with sort of swags and jabots and everything. Well, that couldn't happen here. So we took the panels and put them together, and I recycled them, which is something that I think is why not? Fabulous fabric. Again, from Mavriki in Koloniki. I think this was a John Stefanidis family of fabric. Anyway, very cool stuff. Anyway, that's the house.